Topic number one here, folks, of the conversation. And it's just crazy how prior to the COVID-19, the coronavirus pandemic, it was supposed to have been Alabama, University of Southern California, the USC Trojans to start the season on September 5th in AT&T Stadium in Arlington, Texas. It was supposed to have been Alabama, USC. Now, of course, for a lot of you out there in Tide Nation, the thought process was, well, Alabama's going to roll over and beat down USC anyway. And that's probably true. And that's more than likely true. But at least with playing USC, Alabama had somebody that was a household name, a big-time program, a power program, a brand you could recognize, right? A brand you could recognize. So when the global pandemic hit the sports world, heavily, especially the collegiate world in the month of March, and you had everybody get sent home, and of course now the Big Ten, the Pac-12, and the ACC have all gone to a conference-only look, which led to USC canceling the season opening matchup with the Crimson Tide. The question became, okay, who could Alabama get? Who could Alabama schedule? Who could the Crimson Tide play? Then the rumors started about, well, maybe TCU's the team. Let's see if Alabama can get TCU. And Tide Nation, you guys were excited about that. I mean, TCU, it's not Texas. It's not Oklahoma. It's not one of these upper echelon schools, but TCU under Coach Gary Patterson, still a good program, still a marquee brand, still a brand you recognize. With TCU, they typically have one of the better defenses in the Big 12 and in college football. Gary Patterson, one of the more underrated coaches. It would not be a long travel for the Horned Frogs, seeing how the program is in Texas. So TCU was a thought. But after the initial conversation started, it died down. You have not seen many people talk much about TCU since then. And then afterwards, more rumors started about, well, how about Notre Dame? And folks were like, sweet Jesus, Notre Dame, let that happen. Good God, let that game happen. Two powerhouse programs, two big traditional powers, two major money-grabbing, ratings-grabbing programs. I mean, anytime you get the opportunity to play against Notre Dame and Brian Kelly, Alabama fans, you want to take that chance. You want to take that opportunity. That could be the biggest, most highly rated game of the year. So people are like, yes, let the Irish happen. Let this game be the one. But of course, Greg Byrne, athletic director for the Crimson Tide, shot that dream down quickly. Alabama will play Notre Dame in the future, just not to start the 2020 college football season. So you were thinking about USC, you were thinking about TCU, you were thinking about Notre Dame. Neither of those three happening, and then to kind of end the weekend on last week, the team that has been rumored to potentially be the week one opponent for the Crimson Tide, BYU, the Brigham Young Cougars, BYU. And no offense to BYU, no offense to the Fighting Mormons, BYU, who was the school that was private university owned by the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. So no offense to BYU. I'm not offended by the opportunity to play BYU. I'm offended by the process that's kind of led to this moment, because going back to last week, of course, you guys mentioned any football is better than no football at all. Any type of football is better than not having a season. And while I agree with you, and while I understand where you're coming from, the equivalent to playing BYU, it's kind of like this. Say, for example, you wanted to go to McDonald's, you wanted to go to Mickey D's because you were craving the home-style chicken meal. You were craving it all week like a madman or a mad woman. You were craving home-style chicken all week. And you go to McDonald's, you go to the drive-thru, and you ask for the home-style chicken meal, and they tell you, I'm sorry, sir or ma'am, we're sold out of the home-style chicken meal. We do have a great deal on the filet of fish. And you go from, are you kidding me? I don't want no filet of fish. This is not why I came here. I came here for my darn home-style chicken. And if you wanted to give me a consolation prize on the deal, at least give me something on the quarter pounder. I mean, I'll take a quarter pounder as a consolation prize. I don't want no fillet of fish. I gave it for the homestyle chicken. And you are just kind of, really upset because your mouth was so on that homestyle chicken. They're offering you the fillet of fish. You didn't come here for this, and then it's just a big mess. It's just a big mess. And once again, I'm not offended by BYU. It's just when you look at the opportunity of possibly playing USC or possibly TCU or possibly Notre Dame, and then you're hit with BYU, and it's just the game on the surface. If BYU becomes the game for Alabama week 1, just on the surface, this game just doesn't do it for me. Now, I could be wrong, and I'm praying I am wrong. BYU could be the game of the year. BYU could be the most fun, entertaining, intriguing matchup of the season. Who knows? I don't know, but just off the surface, just on the surface, just not doing it, for me, because, this is not Gary Croton BYU. This is not even Bronco Mendenhall BYU. The only reason why this game would have some substance is due to, of course, Steve Sarkisian played at BYU, and the Cougars have had some great quarterbacks to come through the program. Steve Young came through there. Jim McMahon came through there. Both were Super Bowl champions. Young for the 49ers, McMahon for the Chicago Bears. Ty Detmer came through the program. He was a Heisman Trophy winner in 1990. And, of course, Sark, came through the program. But this is a BYU team under head coach Kalani Sittak. Kalani Sittak, who is entering his 5th year with the program. He is 27-25 in his first 4 years. 3 winning seasons. He does have a losing season at 4-9, with the Cougars. The last 2 years, they were 7-6 in each of the last 2 years. Now, a lot of people are talking about, well, Steven, keep in mind, this same BYU team, they took down Tennessee last year, took down the Vols, took down Jeremy Pruitt's bunch in Neyland Stadium in Knoxville. And yes, they did. But also keep in mind, Tennessee is not one of the upper echelon programs of the SEC. Jeremy Pruitt's building the program up. The program's getting better. He's doing well in recruiting. Tennessee is trying to get back to what it once was in the 90s and early 2000s, but it's not quite there yet. Now, if BYU was to have beaten to Georgia, okay. If BYU was to have beaten LSU, all right. If BYU was to have beaten Texas A&M, I feel you. Even to a certain degree, if BYU was to have beaten Auburn, I can understand that as well. But Tennessee, not quite the upper echelon program or among the upper echelon programs quite yet. Now, once again, if this was Bronco Mendenhall BYU, I would have a completely different tune about this, because when Bronco Mendenhall was coaching the program from 2005 to 2015, that 11-year period, he had some dogs. He had some physical animals. He had players that were tough, that were hard-nosed, that were physical, that were skilled guys. He had some good quarterbacks in that program as well. For Bronco Mendenhall, under Mendenhall, BYU did not have a losing season. Never had a losing season. During his career at BYU, overall record 99-43, 5 10-win seasons, never had a losing season. The only season, aside from his first year, 2005, where he won less than 8 games, was the 2010 season, where they went 7-6. They were in the Mountain West Conference under Mendenhall from 2011 to 2005 to 2010, before going to the independent, or being an independent like Notre Dame is, starting from 2011 to 2015. So Mendenhall had some talent. At the quarterback position, when you talk 3,000-yard guys, he had John Beck, a 3,000-yard passer. He had Max Hall, a 3,000-yard passer. He had Tanner Magnum, a 3,000-yard passer. He had a wild card guy in Taysom Hill at the quarterback position. In terms of running backs, you look at Curtis Brown, a 1,000-yard back. Harvey Ungo, 1,000-yard back. Taysom Hill, though he was a quarterback, he ran the ball well also, being a 1,000-yard rusher. At the wide receiver position, Mendenhall had a 1,000-yard target in Cody Hoffman in 2012, and also he had 11 receivers. He had 11 receivers that produced at least 500 yards receiving. So if this was Bronco Mendenhall BYU, I could get down with it. Because under his regime, under his leadership, this was a program that was bout it. And at BYU, under his leadership, the Cougars would always pull upsets that you would not expect for them to pull, that you would not expect for them to do and or have. But right now, with this edition of BYU under Kalani Saitak, I really don't know. I mean, it could be the game of the year. It could be a fun matchup. It could be sexy. It could be appealing. But just on the surface right now, I'm just not digging it. But it is what it is. But before we go to our first break here on the show, got to remind you of Emily's Heirloom Pound Cakes. Emily's Heirloom Pound Cakes. If you use the code TDA Emily's, you earn 10% off all orders over $30. Link will be found there in the description, coming from our friends at Emily's Heirloom Pound Cakes. But upon our return, we get to your phone calls, your thoughts, your tweets, your chats, your discussions. Are you feeling Alabama versus BYU potentially? We'll talk it about after this.
Every sports fan deserves the proper representation. Whitwell Sports introduces to you the Title Towel. Wave that Title Towel in the air like you just don't care. In support of Nick Saban and the Alabama Crimson Tide. Only $9.99 and it lasts a lifetime. Head on over to whitwellsports.com and get your Title Towel today.
Remember the taste of Grandma's delicious sweets? Emily's Heirloom Pound Cakes brings back those precious memories with just one bite. Each cake made from scratch. They make the perfect dessert to share with family and friends for any occasion, and ordering is easy. Visit emily'sheirloompoundcakes.com. Click the online store and shop. Then pick up your fresh cake at the kitchen in downtown Homewood. Order yours online at emily'sheirloompoundcakes.com. Emily's Heirloom Pound Cakes, making memories from scratch.
Thank you for watching Touchdown Alabama Magazine's YouTube channel. To continue to get the best in Alabama football content, subscribe here and turn on your notifications to stay connected with the hottest shows covering your Crimson Tide.